Evelyn to Philip, March 18th, 1945. My dearest, last night I was so ill I thought I'd die. I finally got unwell, but it seemed as if a terrific force hit me. My head ached so much it made me cry. I was up all night and feel very weak today. I took it easy most of the day. I spent the afternoon typing a long letter regarding my grandmother's estate that I had promised to type for my mother. I did two other things today. I bought Adele 3 pairs of lightweight overalls, chocolate brown, light green, and powder blue. I bought a blouse from Faye, one that her mom brought from the factory with a tiny damage, for $2.75. It's a pale pink sharkskin rayon with tucks all the way across the shoulders, back and front. The thermometer reached 86 degrees yesterday, so you can well imagine how hot it was. It was unusually warm today, but not quite as warm as yesterday. I've discarded Adele's snowsuit, for it is too warm for the weather we are having. Goldie's folks will be leaving soon, so we're having an early dinner. They gave Adele a floating soap dish. I'm going to have my first taste of champagne tonight. Here's a toast to you, my dearly beloved. Your Ev. Philip to Evelyn, 18 March 1945, 10:20 a.m. Darling Evie, you'll note by the dateline that I'm writing this the, quote, morning after the night before, end quote. That's because I didn't get the opportunity to write last night, as I shall explain a little further along. But rather than cheat you out of a letter for 17 March, I decided to cover my activities of that date this morning. Thus, what I do today will be duly recorded in a letter which I shall write tomorrow, etc. Yesterday, the 17th, dawned gray and cool with threatening rain clouds in the sky. I spent the morning and the greater part of the afternoon getting bathed, shaved, haircut, and my clothes from the station tailor. By 3 p.m. I was ready to start dressing. This was my first opportunity to wear my civvy shoes since they arrived, and before I tried them, I was almost certain that they would be sizes small. After wearing the roomy, broad-toed GI brogans steadily for 2 years, and more, it was small wonder that I took it for granted that my feet had spread to some extent. Imagine then my surprise and gratification when I put them on and found them a perfect fit and as comfortable as I ever remember them. The heels are a bit run down, but the soles and uppers are good, so I'll make my first stop this morning the shoemaker's and have a new set of heels put on. I left camp at 4:30 p.m. on the train run truck that was in town by 5:05 p.m. On arriving, I went directly to Bert's shop to find both him and Ev and 2 girls waiting on some 10 or 12 GIs and Tommies who just about filled the tiny place. Their greeting was, quote, "Well, look who's here." And no one, end quote. And no wonder. I was pleased that they even recognized me after my absence of some 3 months. Evelyn had left Nigel in the keeping of a neighborhood girl who had to leave at 6 o'clock. So we hopped into a taxi about 1:15 and went to the house. Nigel, who is still about the best-looking boy of his age, 9 months now, I have seen, had grown noticeably since the last time I saw him, and it was mighty sweet holding him while Evelyn washed and changed. While she fed him, I told her all about the swell time I had on furlough. Bert, who was ailing with a painful boil where he sits, came in about 8 o'clock, and we had tea shortly afterward. Mr. Cohen, Evelyn's father, called from the railroad station at 9:30, and Bert went off in his recently acquired car to pick him up. They were back in about a half hour, Bert lugging the high chair that he, Mr. Cohen had brought from London, and Mr. Cohen carrying a small portable RCA Victor set that he had just bought for £20, $70, second hand. He was offered £30, $120 for it about an hour later and refused it. Can you believe it, Chippy? You know the type of set I mean. Your mother was contemplating buying you one way back in 1940. I was further amazed when Bert appeared, delighted with his father-in-law's luck in picking up such a, quote, bargain, unquote. When I expressed my amazement, he told me in all seriousness that he'd gladly pay £30 apiece for 100 of them and guaranteed to dispose of them within a week at prices ranging anywhere from £35, $140, to £40, $160. Mr. Cohen told of an interesting experience to illustrate the point that many British people have more money than they literally know what to do with because of the dearth of things to buy. He was dining in a London restaurant recently when a friend whom he hadn't seen in 4 years and whom he hardly recognized approached him to remind him that he owed Mr. Cohen £25. Telling him, Mr. Cohen, to wait a minute, he walked over to the check room and returned carrying a large valise. This he nonchalantly placed on the table between them and calmly proceeded to open. Mr. Cohen said he almost passed out when he saw the contents, for the suitcase was literally jammed full with £1 and £5 notes. Boy, what a spot for a red-hot crap game. And I can't even get hold of a measly wallet full of the stuff. For supper, to top off an evening of surprises, and which we sat down to at 10:30 p.m., Evelyn broke out 4 of the biggest, juiciest steaks, complete with fried onions, baked beans, and mustard pickles, that it has ever been my pleasure to sink a fang into. Oops, sorry if I turned your stomach with that last sweet. The taxi, which I had booked earlier in the evening to take me to the Red Cross Club, honked for me at exactly 12 midnight. This morning I slept till 8:30 when, feeling well rested, I rose, dressed, went out, and got the morning papers, which I read over breakfast here at the club. After that, I procured the stationery in the office and settled down in the lounge to write. I find this place very comfortable and attractive, so perhaps a few lines of description might be well received by you, honey. The phono radio is currently giving out with Straighten Up and Fly Right for the edification of an even dozen of GIs who are lolling about in the circle of easy chairs arranged before the instrument. Against the opposite wall, 2 more GIs are engaged in a red-hot game of ping-pong, while another dozen or so GIs look on. Between the 2, in the center of a large square room, which is attractively painted in light green and ivory with a green and ivory patterned linoleum floor covering, there are more easy chairs, all occupied, and a long table which is strewn with American magazines like Life, Time, Newsweek, Saturday Evening Post, etc., and outdated newspapers from all parts of the USA. The dining room, which opens off one of the corners of the lounge, is somewhat smaller but ample to attend to the needs of the soldiers who frequent the club, which all brings me completely up to date, except that it's Rum Boogie on the radio now. I might also mention, baby, that it's a lovely, sunny Sunday afternoon, which just matches my mood, which, in turn, was made happy by the wonderful news I just finished reading in the papers. To all appearances, according to the military analysts, the last big battle to occupy Germany and end the war is now shaping. Here's hoping, my darling. I'm about ready for lunch, which is now being served, so I'll take my leave for the time being, with a loving kiss for you, my lovely, One for my adorable adolescent Adele. Good, huh? And love to all. Mind if I kiss you again, baby? I love you so much. Just remember, sweet, wherever you are the constant companion of your adoring Phil.